Awesome. We're recording. So welcome everyone. We put this Zoom together to invite you guys and to talk about the classes that we are live streaming from Australia, Noosa, Australia, for part of the summer tour, and they're being streamed all around the world. So it's an invitation for you guys to ask questions, to get a sense of what that's all about. So welcome. We are live streaming the Choice of Possibilities and the Symphony of Possibility classes at the end of this year, the last weekend in November and the first weekend in December. The dates are escaping me right now, 24th to the 27th and 3rd to the 5th or something like that. So if you've got questions, please ask. And I might let Crystal kick it off. She's kind of boss mama on this, and Percy and I are your hosts here in Australia. So, welcome.
Welcome. I am the official stream host, which means I will be connecting with you before the class and connecting with you during the class. Streaming, I love it. And it's become actually really a lot more interactive. I mean, we've always tried to create it in a way that, allowed you to interact during the class. But one of the things we've added to streaming lately is the way you can ask your questions. And it's no longer you sending questions through a Skype thread and then somebody getting on a microphone and trying to be you. You actually get to be you on Skype. And it's just awesome. Gary, it's funny when Gary actually first started receiving these questions, he got off Skype and he was like, I like this. So it adds a really different energy to the class. It lets you ask your questions live to to Gary or Dane or Simone or Brendan, whoever is facilitating, and contributes a ton to the class. So while you're on Skype talking to the facilitators, which in this case will be Gary and Brendan for COP and then Dane for SOP, which is really exciting. We basically share the screen of your face to the rest of the class. So we all get to be doing it together. And it's really, really, really changed the dynamic of streaming classes and made it much more like it'd be great to have your body there. But if your body's not there, this is like the very close second best thing. So, so does anybody who's on here have any questions about streaming?
No. Yes, I do. It's Pam here from Western Australia. Okay. I'm going to be doing the COP class prior to coming over to Noosa for the other classes. And I wondered, because I'm going to be around in the mornings, but then I need to go to work in the afternoons. And in the past, I've always been able to just catch up. But I heard recently that now it's kind of, you can't get on until a day later. Is that correct?
What we're doing is we are putting out the information that Susie needs a full 24 hours to upload the videos, but Susie's incredibly fast. So most of the time, the videos are available like 3 to 6 hours after it's over. So it's very, very likely that you can catch up.
Okay. And if I say, I start off, I watch a couple of hours in the morning, then I go to work, come back, if it's still going, I can just
jump back
live TV again, how you used to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Cool,
and I'll be able to ask. So how do we do that? How do we ask the questions live?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Exactly what happens.
Yep. So when you've already paid, which I know you have, you're going to very soon be receiving an email that's got like lots of information, not like a bit of information, where you've got 2 Skype threads that you can connect to, and then a link to where you can get detailed information about how to ask questions. But I'll go through it briefly. So what you need Skype on 2 different devices. So you're going to be chatting to access consciousness from either your iPad or your computer and talking to somebody, Gary or Dane or Brendan, on your other device. And so we're going to walk you through all of that at the time of it, but that's the gist of what you need there. And so you will be muting the class. So if you have the class live streaming on your television, at the time of your question, you'll need to mute that television so that you're hearing the class and the conversation with you and the facilitator through your device that you're talking to them on. Okay. And I recommend to everybody that if you're using a phone to Skype that conversation, that you put it on a stable device. Like don't just hold it, because then you want to center your head, and so that we can all see you and you look awesome, and so it's really, really simple.
Okay.
And there's way more detailed instructions that we send you on a link that tells you exactly who to add as a contact, who you're going to be chatting with, like all of that stuff we go through in great detail.
And can we still write in questions? If I'm not there and I'd like to ask something, I can still send in a question and it will be read out by someone?
You can. Your question will be put in line with everybody else's questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit harder if you're not on topic. So
yeah, it is. And we definitely follow we put it in the mix, and we let, the facilitators know that it's there, and then they follow the energy, and you know how that goes in class.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Kristen.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we're also streaming the SOP, and I know there's streaming a class that is primarily other bodies working on bodies. There's a lot of times the point of view that you have to be live in an SOP, and that's one of those myths that I really enjoyed dispelling, because one of the things I've discovered about SOP sessions in particular over distance, like over Skype, is that you actually have to use your awareness even more over Skype when that person's body's not in front of you actually giving you all the information. So I find the people that actually come away from a SOP and do distance sessions, they get, there's a different understanding and a different sense of energy and your capacity to change energies than you even have when you're working on someone's bodies. So I love live streaming SOPs, and I love doing distance sessions, and that's something that invites you to, like, right off the top. So does anybody have any questions about that particular class?
Can we talk about just briefly, Crystal, how we pair people up and how pairing of bodies works over live streaming for an SOP?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the first day, your stream host, which is me, and Sarah and Percy, if they're around, basically I'm going to pop in the thread and say, hey, if you guys are here, because some people stream the class and then watch it later. So if you guys are here and you're in the thread, go ahead and put in your Skype name into the thread. And I'll collect those, and I will put it into a doc. And then when it comes time for Dane will say, okay, we're going to pair up. And you'll see that over the stream. And what I will do is I will pair your Skype name with another person's Skype name, and I'll put that back in the thread. And then you need to search for their Skype name in your little search bar on your Skype app. Add them as a friend, connect, and you're going to video call each other, and you're going to work on each other over Skype. So I find that the thing people struggle with the most at an SOP is learning how to use Skype. So if that's not an app or something that you're really comfortable using, what I would do is get comfortable using it. Like, how do you find people? How do you add contacts? You can go onto YouTube on how to use Skype, and I'm sure there's a video there. But that's the biggest struggle that we ever have at SOP. So that's the thing you need to know how to do. You need to know how to search for contact, add them as a friend, and then you're going to video call each other and working on each other that way. And then Dane, as you're watching the stream and you're working on each other, he's going to say, okay, switch. And that's when you're going to know to switch partners. And you'll be working on that person until he says switch, and then he'll say switch, and then they work on you. It's very fun. And he always gives you a question to play with. So, he'll give you a question to ask the other person, like, if you could get anything out of this, what would it be? Or if you were functioning from total ease, joy, and glory, what would you ask for? Or whatever he asks. And so you have a place to go. And then he, like the class goes into, like, how you do all of that.
Awesome. And what about if people, like you were saying, people sometimes get a little bit, learning how to use Skype and this new technology. How do they ask questions about that side of things, like leading up to the classes?
You can email streaming@accessconsciousness.com if you're really confused. And during the class, we actually set up a technical chat. So we have the main class chat where everybody's like, oh my God, that was amazing, and holy shit, and just interacting with each other. Yeah, and then we've got a technical chat where we actually put about 2 people that can, like, help you specifically if you're just, like, Skype's not making any sense to you, or the stream is dropping all the time, like you can't connect. If you can't get your computer to work, like whatever technical issues you may be running into, we actually have a dedicated couple of people that are there to help you with that. And they're amazing. So they will find a way to connect with you regardless of whatever problem you're having and actually get it fixed for you. I haven't had anybody on the stream that's ever had an issue that ever couldn't be helped. So
yeah. And this year you've got 3 peeps that have your back in class. So Crystal's your main person, and then Percy and I are learning, but
yes,
we're all here to like, yeah, contribute to making it totally ease and fun.
yeah,
Which I love. And maybe could we talk about POPs for a little bit and the difference, especially with a class like SOP, what hosting a POP or having a POP at your house, what that looks like, and yeah, maybe some energy around how POPs work.
I'd actually like to know that for future reference, because as much as I like the live streaming, I also love to be with a group of people.
yes,
Yeah, especially for an SOP class, I think would be nice.
Yeah, so that would be good to know.
Yeah, cool. So POPs were formerly called pods for anybody who's been around. We changed it to POPs because pod stands for point of destruction, and it's way more fun to have a party of possibility. So, and what it is basically you're hosting a party at your house, and you guys are all watching the same movie, essentially. And the movie happens to be the Access class. So, as a POP host, you apply, and there's a link that we send you when you want to host a POP. Right now, the process is you email streaming@accessconsciousness.com. We send you a link, you apply, we take care of you, we get you set up. And then you have a listing on the Access site where people can sign up for your POP. Now, there's a few details. When you're becoming a brand new POP host, we need a few things from you. Primarily, we need a tax form sent in because we are paying you commissions on the people that show up at your house. So it's a way of having people over and doing the class with other people, and it's also an income stream. And I know a lot of people that have I've done it myself, where I've had 10 or 11 people at my house, and I not only got a free class, but I made money. So it's a cool possibility from a lot of different directions. So you apply, you send in your tax form, you pay 50% of the class upfront to have it posted. So that way we know that you're creating. We're not just doing all this work for someone who's not, who may or may not choose the class. It actually, it confirms your choice. And once we've received your 50% payment and we've confirmed it with the payment team and it's been run and it's gone through, then we'll post your POP on the Access site, and it will show up under your hosting schedule, not your facilitating schedule, on the back end. And then on the front end, it will show up under your upcoming classes. And it will also show up when people go to Gary or Dane's class schedule on the website. And there's those 3 little icons on the left or on the right that say live class, online class, and POPs. When they click POPs, your class is going to pop up there as well. So, and as a streaming team, we're always in the question and in creation about how we can support you better. So there's many times we'll send out an email to everybody in your area with the link to your POP, letting them know that you're there, and posting on Facebook, and the promotional team is always boosting ads and things like that. So there's a lot that we do on the back end to support your creation. And I find for me with POPs, it's when it's fun for me that it creates. So I remember with the foundation, the Chaos Foundation, that was we had a month to create it or something crazy. I told everybody. I had people flying in to come to my POP because I was like, oh my God, this class, And so it's really fun when it's fun for you.
And maybe we could talk a bit on the energy of with creating a POP. To me, it's even when you say it comes up in your hosting schedule on the Access Consciousness website, to me, it's almost like you're a satellite host of a Gary Dane or Brendan or Simone class eventually when they're doing their COPs as well. Can we talk a little bit about the energy of that, being a host for these classes and what it involves? I've heard people talk in Australia sometimes about needing to be able to facilitate everything that comes up in the class. So maybe we could touch on the difference between being a really good host and also having Gary, Dane, Brendan or Simone there to have your back with when it comes to facilitation in the class?
Well, I think there's two things you're talking about there. And the first is you mentioned like actually being a part of Gary and Dane's worldwide hosting team. Like you are actually a part of that team. You're just a satellite. You're a satellite host. You're a satellite, location. And I think with POPs in the past, it's been really easy to look at it of, well, I'd like to do the class, and if people join me, then great, I'll make some money. But what we're really inviting everybody to is a different energy, which is that, you know what, we are all a part of expanding the possibility of awareness and choice and pop host and contribution around the world. Like we're all a part of that. And when you choose to be a pop host, you are choosing to be a part of that dazzle of hosts around the world. And actually, we've changed our POP application process to reflect that, in that you do have to apply every single time you want to host now. And we're going to be looking at the energy, because really what we want to do is we want to empower you to create. Instead of using POPs as, well, if something happens, then great. We actually want to really empower you to create. So what can we be? What can you be to expand this possibility around the world? And the second part is that you don't have to facilitate everything that comes up in your POP. That is not your job. Your job is to be is to host a party. And if or when something comes up in your POP, hi Ayla. We actually had a lady, I think she was a bars facilitator, and she had another lady that went into this total freak out, and she thought she was on her own, but then I think she reached out for help. And there is like 18 of us in the background here, like ready to help you at the drop of a hat, to facilitate, to step in, to do whatever is required, including Gary and Dane, honestly. So you are not by yourself, and we don't have hidden closet expectations of you that you be anything but you, and so anything that comes up around facilitating or difficult people or whatever is something that we want to know about and we want to help you with. Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. And Gary spoke recently on I can't remember, it was he spoke about the energy of what streaming and POPs create with Access Consciousness classes. Does anyone remember, I think Rebecca might know, or maybe Lauren, or maybe you do, Crystal, where he was talking about what he's looking at creating with having these classes available via live stream and via like POPs, obviously. Does anyone remember what he said? No.
Pass.
I don't remember that clip, but I did walk up to him. Marnie and I walked up to him at the 7-day, and we were like, hey, we have a quick question for you. And
this is probably it, actually. This feels right. Yeah.
And because there was a big conversation in the 7-day about priorities and agendas. And we were sitting there chatting amongst ourselves and going like, what do we want to do with streaming, and where's it going, and all the stuff. And she was like, what if we ask Gary? Nobody really ever asks him what his priorities are. And I was like, that's brilliant. So we walked up and we were like, so Gary, what are your priorities with streaming? And he goes, well, I don't really have any priorities, really. He's like, and then he just kept talking. And he's like, I guess if there was anything, it would be that these classes could get to just everybody in the world. Like that everybody in the world had the possibility of choosing an access class if they wanted. And it had such a gentleness and such a generosity of spirit with it that really melted me. And since that moment, I've been really looking at like, what can we all be? What can we all together be and choose that would, like, where the people in the most remotest parts of Ghana or wherever in the world knew that they could choose this if they wanted. And, so that's the gift. That's the gift of streaming. That's the gift of you guys as POP hosts around the world, actually reaching people that we can't even reach. It's like when you look at the 6 degrees of separation, that's true. We're all like interconnected like this. And so when we're all willing to create and just be what we know and invite people to it, then that actually gives the world that possibility.
Yeah. And it just, to me, creates such a sense of ease and peace around, it's just a choice in the end, like we're creating these possibilities for everyone, and all you really need to do is choose to attend. And you've got 4 different ways now that you can do that. So I think it's amazing. And even when you were talking about POPs before, what came up for me was, talking about having a pop in your home, what would it take for us to get to that point where we had these pop hosts that were holding pops in actual, event
venues?
locations?
Yeah.
Venues, thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
stadiums.
why not? Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, I was just wondering that as you were talking. Sorry to interrupt you. I was actually just wondering that as you were talking about what it would be like to invite someone to a really elegant, decadent place. It would be fun to do it in your home, and I'd be happy to invite people to my living room. But, it would be lovely to go somewhere and, just be in a really beautiful space and actually watch it. I was wondering about that possibility for myself.
Yeah. I haven't ever chosen it yet, but we have so many massive, I live in a massive, beautiful home in West Vancouver now. I just moved.
It's amazing.
But we have these big mansions up here where you could 7 or 8 or 12 bedrooms. And if you really did want to create a party, you could home away a big home, wherever you are and rent it out and people could stay there and then actually do the pop. And then, you could bring a caterer in. There's so many different ways that you could create this if you wanted to.
And that's where that energy of being a satellite host really comes up for me as well, because it's definitely present when you're doing it in your home. And then I look at how we create classes as hosts for Gary and Dane and the locations we choose for them, and how easy and how fun it would be to just create that again and have, a TV screen set up with them there as though they were on stage. And how much fun and how big can we go with this stuff too? Yeah. Awesome. So does anyone else have any other questions? Love this. Thanks for coming on, guys. This has been so cool.
And thank you for being you and for choosing and for creating with us. We're really, really, really grateful.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Well, we will see you guys online around the world.
Wherever you be. And please feel free to reach out. So streaming at accessconsciousness.com will get you to the general. My email's sarahwatt@accessconsciousness. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, Facebook, Skype, whatever. We're here and I'm happy to answer any questions you have as well.
Yes.
And thank you, everybody. I was listening away and it's lovely to hear you all talking. It's just an area that I don't get much chance to contact because we've got a very strong group in Albany in Western Australia. And I am a primary school teacher, so I teach all week, but it's just lovely just listening to the information that you're putting out there, and it helps me feel more part of the wider community. So Thank you very much, everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks
What a great way to start the day.
Awesome.
Well, I'm coming to Australia on the 22nd, so I will see some of you physically and others of you online, and I'm excited. It's my first
2 weeks. We
I
kick
know.
off. 2 weeks till the tour starts. So thanks, Crystal.
You're welcome.
Look forward to meeting you, Crystal.
I can't wait.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Happy Saturday.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Have fun.